I haven't prepared any formal offerings because normally I don't like anything formal, as you probably noticed a long time back. And so I'm just thinking that right now I'm really focused on an instruction or kind of question you often ask, or you ask your disciples regularly, especially those whom you haven't seen for a while. Are you happy in Krishna consciousness? And so just trying to be happy in Krishna consciousness, because I have so much of your mercy, undeserved. This is the meaning of causeless mercy. And especially after sannyas, life becomes very interesting. I've been even missing your association because I got so much more engagement. But I remember some time ago I just shared with you briefly that I feel so fortunate that I made this choice 27 years ago, that I wanted you to become my spiritual master. And I can't really imagine even surviving, or to speak of thriving in Krishna consciousness, if I would make any other choice. Because, we have many wonderful senior Vaishnavas in our movement, but, for me, there is no one as special as yourself, and I really have good reasons for that, because there are many people who preach very nicely. Of course, your classes are very, very clear and very inspiring and always very lively. But it's not just what you speak about really impresses me, but it's your example, because it's rare to see someone perfectly practicing what one's preaching, and oftentimes you're making this point that the 5 most powerful elements in Krishna consciousness, as Lord Chaitanya stated, are Sadhu Sangha, Nama Kirtan, Bhagavat Shravan, Madhuravasi, Vishnu Murti Shradesavan. And I'm thinking that you're so perfectly embodying all these 5. You practice all these 5 so powerfully, starting with the end, Vishnu Murti Shradesavan. Probably no one, probably even yourself, you would not exactly know how many deities of the Lord you recovered throughout the years, and how many you have, how many you worship. Of course, you have your disciples to do the worship. But I don't think there is anybody in ISKCON who recovered that many deities. And of course, devotees even making a video of your worship as an exemplary worship for all ISKCON devotees. And of course, your senior disciple, Nrsimha Kavacha Prabhu, is in charge of the Ministry of Deity Worship for a good reason, because we're inspiring him so much in this service. And I've also been blessed by receiving Giriraj Govardhan from your own hand, and Giriraj is really taking so much care of me. And many devotees actually know how much mercy I've got by worshipping him. And so you making your own life so successful by strictly following this Anga, and you helping so many other devotees. There are countless stories I can think of. Just one story I remember. We were at Govardhan together, and specifically you went to pick up few Govardhan Shilas for your senior disciples who wanted to worship them. And then when we were in one place where we found many nice Govardhan Shilas, and I've spotted one very nice Govardhan Shila, and he also liked it. And then I remembered my god sister, Sri Guru Charana Padma, and how her and her husband, they really went through so many hurdles in their life. They're such a sincere devotees, but she was already quite elderly, and then she conceived a child, but then the child was born dead, and also they invested quite a lot of money in some business, maybe $100,000 or something, and then they lost all this money, and we were concerned about them as well as myself. And then I asked you, what about giving them Giriraj to worship? And you said, yeah, this is a good idea. Take this Giriraj and give it to them, and you tell them that they have my blessing for the worship. So I delivered Govardhan Shila to them, and they started worshipping this Giriraj. And since that time, they had a wonderful baby boy, which is very surprising at such an advanced age. Very healthy, very nice baby boy. And also they were struggling financially, but then suddenly her father said, why are you moving from house to house? That why don't you get your own place? And Braj Mahan said, but we have no money. And then Sri Guru's father said, okay, I have like $230,000 I don't need, and I can just give it to you. Buy yourself a house. And then Sri Guru, said, how can we pay you back? And he said, don't worry about paying back. Just give me whenever and whatever you can, and that's it. And so they just got this money, and they bought themselves a wonderful house. And so since that time, their life really changed. So Giriraj is really looking up to them. And so there have been many other instances. I saw how miraculous life becomes if it is connected to the Lord in his form of a deity. And of course, Mathura Vasi, we were noticing that you're spending more and more time in Vrindavan, and how attached you are to Sri Vrindavan Dham. And it's like you're using any excuse to stay in Vrindavan as long as possible. And obviously, Vrindavan has such a rough climate and so many challenges, but it's very inspiring to see how much taste you have for living in a holy place, that it's such a deep attachment. And Bhagavat Shravan, you always listening to the classes, not only Prabhupada's classes, but so many classes by your god brothers and other devotees. You're always absorbed in hearing, and then we see the result. Whatever you share is very inspiring and very, very deep. And what to speak of Nama Kirtan, of course, I mean, your scale of preaching, as Govinda Maharaj says, this is the biggest Sankirtan Yagya on the planet Earth. Even speaking of the festival tour, what to speak of other places, it was really inspiring to see you, how in Mongolia you went on the national TV and were explaining the science of Krishna consciousness to at least a couple of million people at a time. That's an audience to preach. And yeah, your scale of preaching. That's something which keeps me so inspired in Krishna consciousness. I can see that it is possible, and hoping that I could contribute a little bit to your purposes, which is to please Srila Prabhupada. But the most inspiring element is sadhu sangha. First of all, it's very rare to see a very prominent leader in our society, spiritual master, sannyasi and guru, sharing his preaching with anybody. Because it's such a nectar. Nobody wants to share. But you're so different. And you're always traveling with some senior devotees. At least Bhadda Haridas Prabhu is your companion for so many years. 3 years, 4 years, 5 years now. It's amazing. Non-stop. And I can see you really enjoying sharing preaching opportunities and kirtan opportunities with Bhadda Haridas Prabhu and what to speak of other Prabhupada disciples. I mean, anyone who went to Kartik knows that it's real Sankirtan preaching. You know, it's like so many senior devotees come with you and they all can contribute. And it's very inspiring to see, you know, this mood of cooperation among senior Vaishnavas in Prabhupada's mission and real friendship. And what to speak of other devotees, you're so inspiring. You always give your time even to little children, and you don't even limit yourself to ISKCON devotees. Your broad-mindedness, I would say that this is the most inspiring facet of your glories, that your broad-mindedness knows no limits, and you so friendly relating to the people of other faiths, and they become inspired not because of your preaching, but because of your affection towards them. And like again in Mongolia, I just remembered how when we met with those Buddhist monks, and this was one of the most powerful monastery in the whole country, and they came, and the chief abbot was there, and I could see from his face he was a little tense when he saw so many Hare Krishnas came to the monastery. And then immediately, right from the first sentence, you just dispelled all his tensions. I could see that his face immediately changed. After he asked you, so, you know, like, why did you come? And you said, we came to your country because we appreciate your spiritual culture so much. And, you know, the Buddhist culture is so close to our culture, and etc. And you shared so many appreciations, and he was completely surprised, taken by surprise. And then I remember how you told him that you gave that story of this little boy, how he wanted to become a Buddhist monk, and his mother wanted to talk him out of it, but then you convinced her that this is the best thing for the boy. And it was very obvious that you were not like playing tricks. That was coming from your heart, that you really see that our planet needs spiritual culture, and it doesn't matter which tradition people follow. So it's like very broad-minded vision, and we know that Srila Prabhupada had the same vision, and it's so amazing to see that, you know, you imbibe that spirit from him, and this is what makes you so powerful in your preaching, and at the end you even offered, like, we want to help you in terms of development of your spiritual culture. And that monk said, let us do something for you first. But then you asked them, like, what could we do? And then they requested kirtan, because they wanted to learn how to chant mantras in a very attractive way. And so then Bhadda Haridas Prabhu sang wonderful kirtan. And they didn't really want us to go. They wanted to take pictures of Buddhas, and everyone was coming and exchanging embraces with the devotees. So that was very touching. And my greatest desire is to somehow, be useful in your mission in introducing Krishna consciousness to the world as much as possible. And so in that light, we're attempting to start a school in Mayapur this fall for training outreach leaders. And so it's only possible with your blessings, because we're trying to do something which is really impossible, to get professionals enrolled for 3 months, and professionals are normally busy people. But we're hoping to get some devotees with real leadership potential, who could start new projects, new creative projects for spreading Krishna consciousness. So if you could please bless those efforts. I have experienced whatever you're blessing, it's always coming out successful. So just wanted to take an opportunity and use that for my advantage here. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. Now, for you, we make an exception. But for everyone else, sorry. Well, if you have an offering ready in a book, then obviously you read it. But if you would like to speak, then we're going to have to limit you to 2 minutes. Is that okay? Yeah. And Maharaj, you're very special, so for you, make an exception. So we're going to call on Maharani Vrinda now, and prepare your, tissues. She's definitely going to cry, and as every year. And after that, we're going to have a little surprise for Shlai Gurudev. We're going to have a little musical performance by Hari Kirtan and Modidar. And after that, we're going to ask Gita to speak 2 minutes, if that's okay. And I'd like to also welcome Mother Jagadatri, she's going to hate me for this, but she's just in the corner there. She came especially for your Vyasa Puja, your beloved god sister. So, sorry. Okay, Maharani.